It's January 7th, 2022. I'm sorry, 2023. I went for a run by Oakland Lake. Um, I thought it was only 5 miles. I mean, I went 8 laps. It turned out when I got home and I looked at the data, it was 7.43 in just that portion. But I still had to run there and then run back. So it was a long run. So that happened today. So lots of time thinking. Um, on my Pandora, I switched it up. I moved it to country music. And Thomas, I don't know if it's Reed or Rhett. Again, they don't play him on the radio here. I found him by accident. He was stuck to one of my algorithms once. Um, so he has a song, Star of the Show, which I rather like. It makes me feel like maybe there's still somebody, like I know that there was when I was younger. And then I was also thinking as I was running, um, in the chapter of my life that had the attendance at St. Dominic in Oyster Bay near the Roosevelt, President Theodore Roosevelt estate. Um, when I was in that neck of the wood, amongst that crowd in uniform, there was, I totally lost my train of thought about running. Oh, was there was a girl by the name, she had the first name same as my own, but her last name is the same. When you put the letters together, it makes a country, which might become a hostile conversation, which I never want to have. It was a girl, and it was whatever this was. Um, but again, just like Mark Ingalls is not a special task force Mark that I would have ever approved of, but there he was in the field. And do I think he's from like an Ingalls Air Force Base? No, no, I don't. But how would I know? If I have to categorize him, he looked like someone who would pay for a private flight, but I don't know if he didn't seem like he owned his own. Um, so in St. Dominic's, there was this girl, Nicole Morocco. Um, she had this like Barney thing going on. Don't know. She lived in a place called Hicksville. Um, and one weekend she asked me to sleep in her sister was not home. I had to sleep in her sister's room, which I did. And when I didn't want to wake up, she woke me up out of a dream. She said I kept saying this name over and over again, Nikki, Nikki, Nikki. Um, and when I awoke, I was just like, ugh, I want to go back to sleep. I was like, whoever I was just with, I was very happy. And she's like, yeah, well, you kept saying the word Nikki. And I'm like, I don't remember saying that, but all right. I mean, again, so I know, caught between these, whatever they are. And again, yesterday, when the the man in New York said the words opaque, it's like the opaque earth And then there's the transparent part that gets to the layer of translucency, which is almost like a one-way mirror because it looks different looking from the ground, from the opaque, standing on the opaque part looking out. It's different. It's partial transparency or partial translucency. Um, Standing on the moon, it looks totally different, being an opaque object as well, according to this local. Um, so there's that. Um, and then I'm thinking of the American real estate school that I went to, and the very specific one, very specific class where they mentioned Hector as a measurement briefly. I don't know if anybody else caught it. I caught it. I thought it was unusual. Something I don't think that they were going to teach any longer. I think that was like coming to the end of whatever. For whatever reason, I don't know. So I was in that class. He spoke of an ED word at like in imminent danger. Frightens me. I've been harmed in the United States of America, standing on American soil. And what concerns me most is this imminent dominance over, if they can't keep the land construct and laws safe from foreign invasion, foreign takeover, how are they ever, now that they're shooting things into the overhead compartment out of our reach, who's in charge of that domain and the interactions between the territories and areas? Again, it just frightens me. They could, some part of leadership got my birthing plan wrong. That's mistake number one that should be on the most frightened list. The special child did not arrive in the correct capitulate position. I was elsewhere where Nicole Morocco saw my body laying somewhere, and I was somewhere completely different, and that's where I wanted to be, and I didn't want to wake up to where this body was, because I was somewhere else in some other, however time works, and around here they think it's linear. So there's that, but that also goes back to the conception of Alexander and the timing of such, where I was in a completely different spot. I named the father, and then I awoke, whatever. And that's where that Virgin Mary thing comes from. But again, it's whatever it is. So there's that. But what frightens me is the fact that the original time when a man and a woman find each other and then are partnered for life, and then have in timing, if the special child is predicted and going to come, no matter what, it follows the path of the mother, for which I was already slated for. When they don't give me the correct mate or bedding partner, like for day night cycles, it then puts an imposition on the rest of the whatever. But I already have some form of saboteur or sabotage going on in my daily wake night cycle from where my body was. That's the most frightening, is the fact that with all the power in the world and all the prediction software and all of the conscious computing methods of computation and some calcaneus calculus, my womanhood was sabotaged prior to the arrival of the predicted. And I mean, are there insurance policies? Are there guarantees that this child's going to arrive? I don't know how anybody works in any department of humanity, but I know the special child arrived, and I know there's special preparations at some point throughout my life. So what really concerns me is ground control, and then the eminent domain thereof of other out of reach equipment, and how the entire thing is being handled when the correct body does not wake up and go to sleep next to me. But yet Alexander is still on this side of third dimension with me. I mean, he's not in under my roof any longer, but he still exists here. So this then becomes this, if that much sabotage is going on, how does one stop it? How does one prepare? Like, where do you even report it? I mean, they sent a House representative, meaning they sent a representative to America or from within America, I don't even know, named Nick, who was born same day as I. It was our birthday, and he was the receiving doctor who I had never, like, who I don't see on a day-to-day basis. And he's the one who delivered Alexander, special delivery, and then just disappeared again. So I know someone in August's house knows, or August's birthday knows, that Alexander and I are together on this side of third dimension in whatever goes on in this area. What I don't understand is why, precedent to that, there was some kind of sabotage going on, which only leads to, with these special children, it's an integrity breach at the highest security levels. If you can't get one marriage correct, and you know that there's a special child on the way, which then is how you calculate out the future. I mean, these are integritous global positions of like bodies in space and time that then other things are calculated off of, whether they know who they are or they don't. So that's why I don't really understand how this gift from God or the God or the whatever was so mispronounced or so sabotaged, and yet still not handled in a proper manner, for which then I got attacked. I mean, I've been attacked several times, but I got attacked through some form of equipment, and I don't know where between my feet were on the opaque and there was something going on in overhead compartment and the space between. But signs that thoroughly concern me. Also, I've had, before I ever opened a social media account, or before it was even a thing, I had a professor by the name of Dr. Todd, Todd. I went to a class at something called Empire State University. Real place, real thing. Really, I have a matriculated application and credits from that university called Empire State in New York State. Um, and he was the professor for business operations and business management. Um, it was one-on-one session. There were no other attendees. And um, I know how he introduced himself. Um, and then there was a third class, which was with this woman by the name of Frances Boyce, Boyce. She had a problem with me. I didn't have a problem with her. Again, just Betty Joe on this one. I mean, I went into the classroom expecting her to be this professor and this mentor and this guidance of how to plan a degree so I could finish my degree. You have to, in this university, you have to go for a degree plan where they give you a catalog of the college and then you have to pick out these classes and you have to write something about it. But what her expectations were and what my performance was, there was like no instruction. But there was a lot of attitude. Something was brought up about racism, and I'm like, what? I was like, you're gonna have to rewind that for me. I was like, I'm here because you're on my schedule, and you're supposed to instruct me how to fill out this degree plan so I can get a college degree to help my children and myself in the system. And you want to have a discussion about racism? I was like, I'm not following your logic. And then it stopped. But as did the, she offered no help whatsoever. She didn't recuse herself and and reassign me to a different professor if she had a problem working with me. I mean, it was clear she had this attitude, but she didn't assign me. If she didn't want to work with me, that's one thing. I'm fine with that. I mean, I really don't care either way. It's you're a cog in a system. I need a degree. That's what I came here for. You don't want to work with me. It's a sign of the times. And holding prejudice against somebody who doesn't even have an open and public file, technically, unless she was on some special invitation by I don't know whom, perhaps my captors, I don't know. I'm not agreeing that there's captors, but it's sure starting to look that way. Years later, after that, never completed the degree, couldn't even complete the class because I didn't have somebody who would even work with me. But I did complete the 2 classes with Dr. Todd, and I had no problem with he. He gave clear, concise instructions. He gave a syllabus. I mean, the way professors do, they give a syllabus, they give instruction, there's homework, there's expectations, there's one-on-one discussion time, and I was working at this time. I was also working at Chase. Maxine Raub, I think, was my business manager. Never had a problem with her. And she was a very strong, strong woman. Had no problem with her, but she didn't bring prejudice to Chase when we held meeting. And she was my supervisor at the bank. But yet, when I went to the Empire State University, there was a very big difference in in the way that the participation was of this person brought to the room before I even had a social media profile prejudice against me and racism against me. and was vocal about it, like bringing it up, like to see, I guess, to gauge my reaction, which was like, I don't see the logic. Where are you going with this? So anyhow, so that happened. So there's some stuff going on in New York. I don't have a direct line to anybody in particular, but it's concerning at several different ways of looking at the exact same situation. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.